Shalom and great day to everybody out there, everybody across the world, whether you're listening on Silverline Radio or whether you're watching on Paradigm TV Live. I want to thank you all for being here. Welcome to WWDJ with Wealth and Wellness with Demetrea Janay. I am, of course, your host, Demetrea Janay, and I am so excited to be here to be able to share some information with you that I believe is going to plant some seeds in your life, and you're going to be able to plant those seeds into someone else's life. So, a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. This session is going to be about health and wellness, wealth and wellness on the tips of juicing, herbalism, how to keep your body right, the things that we need. And then we're going to also get into some ways of how you can increase your finances, how you can protect your family. We're going to talk about a little bit of both. And I'm excited to be able to share the information that I do have with you. So again, I'm Demetrea Janay, your wealth and wellness speaker for today, and I'm excited to get this started with you guys. I have two businesses that I have started within the last 2 years that have really got me on a journey to being able to transform not only my life, but the others around me in my community and my family and my friends. So I do have a juice business. I have a raw juice business. And we're going to talk a little bit about how juicing can really enhance your everyday lifestyle. It just adds so much value to who you are, and it adds value to your body. Your body truly appreciates it. Okay. So I have a juice business, and it is called, again, Grand's Temple Juicery. Um, Juicing is something that a lot of people are really starting to come into, and you may wonder why that is. Juicing is something that was at one point, I would say, a little underrated for the powerful benefits that it does have. And juicing can really transform and reverse. It is known to actually reverse some diseases, that, as we may call them, and people are able to really just rejuvenate and reset their bodies with juicing. So let's get into it. What about juicing really causes the reversing of any type of discomfort, disease, or what is the reset? How does it happen? Well, juicing really, what it does is you take fruits and vegetables and you can actually extract the nutrients through a juicer. Now, again, I am referring specifically to a juicer. You can also juice your juice through you can blend it and then strain it with a cheesecloth. However, I specifically put mine straight through a juicer, kind of take the extra step out of there of having to strain the things through the cheesecloth. That's a little bit more work. So I specifically use a cold press juicer. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but there are two different types of juicers out there. When I first started juicing, before I actually started my business officially, I was using a centrifugal juicer. These are your common juicers that you may see in your regular stores that may offer juice. I believe I've seen this in Beyond Juicery. I'm locally in Michigan, and so I see a lot of places use centrifugal juicers. And centrifugal juicers are usually, they're a little loud. They're a lot louder, not a little. They're a lot louder than a slow press masticating juicer. They are a lot quieter. But what happens with the centrifugal juicer is it's a high-speed blade that is actually extracting the juice from the fruits and vegetables that you put into a juicer. So when you put it in, you hear it go, it'll make like this really loud noise, and you push everything through, and you have this blade that's spinning around really, really fast. And what this does is this actually causes a form of heat sensation to the actual juicer itself. And that is not the best way to get the nutrients from your juice, because it's actually going so fast. It's not slowly pulling out all the nutrients, and it may miss some. A fact to that is, when you look at the compost of a centrifugal juicer, usually your compost is a little more wet. And also, when you look at your juice that you have extracted from the fruits and the vegetables, you have a lot more debris, as you would call it, or the compost is what it actually really is. You have a lot of that that's usually still in the juice. Now, there's nothing actually wrong with that. If that's the way that you prefer to do your juice, then by all means, centrifugal juicers will get the job done. But if you're looking for a more sleek and cleaner and smoother taste, I would suggest going with a slow press masticating juicer. Okay. Now, the difference with this juicer is, as it states in the name, it's a slow press. And what happens is the blade is actually what presses up against it, because it's a cold press. There's actually not even a blade. The so-called blade is really like an auger, what they call an auger. And it's a big piece of plastic that has ridges in it. And then there's a straining piece. Maybe the next show I'll actually bring it on to show you guys how it looks. But there's an auger piece. It's a fat actual auger which has ridges along the sides of it. And then you have two pieces, that's the strainer. And what happens is when you push the auger in two and you put your fruits and vegetable in, it pushes literally up against the auger and it pushes through the strainer along the sides, and it slowly, and the actual juicer does go a lot slower than the centrifugal juicer, and it slowly presses the juice out into the actual container that the juice goes in. So there is a difference. Your juice in a slow masticating juicer will actually come out a lot smoother. The compost will be a lot drier, as well as you eliminate a lot of the extra grit that you usually find in your juice when you're using a centrifugal juicer. Again, centrifugal juicers work. They absolutely work. And what you can do when you do have that extra grit in your juicer, if you have a little bit of particles in the juice from the centrifugal juicer, you just strain it. All you're going to do is pour it through a strainer, get all the extra excess compost out of, or grit out of the actual juice. Even with my slow masticating juicer, I strain it just because out of habit. And sometimes you will have a little bit, but it's a major comparison difference when you use a centrifugal juicer and when you use a slow masticating cold press juicer. Okay. Now, the main thing is pricing is definitely going to be different between a centrifugal juicer and a cold press masticating juicer. There is a major difference. There are several different brands out there that you can shop around and see what is best for you. At the end of the day, it all gets it done, and it's all according to your preference. Okay. So that's regarding the juicers, because you got to have a juicer in order to juice. Okay. Some of the benefits. Now, I'm just going to discuss a little bit of the testimonials that I have received from some of my customers and clients that have purchased juices from me. Again, I do have a juice company by the name of Grand's Temple Juicery. And we've been in business for a little over 2 years now. And I want to say March of next year, it will be 3 years, all praises. And it wasn't something that I was ever looking to make a big thing. I was just very shocked at the support that we received. And I'm more than ever grateful for the support that we have received. So let's get into the testimonial. So I've had a customer whose favorite juice is the Paradise Delight. Now, Paradise Delight is actually our top seller, our number one seller. We have 3 top sellers, but Paradise Delight has been number one since we started this business. So if you are ever interested, I am in the Metro Detroit area of Michigan, and you can get your Grand's Temple Juicery Paradise Delight. So she had been dealing with high blood pressure. She advised that she had been dealing with high blood pressure, and she was drinking her Paradise Delight consistently. Now, this particular client, she does like to purchase her Paradise Delight in a gallon form. So that is a gallon worth of juice, and she usually consumes it within 3 to 4 days. I believe she actually shares it with her family as well, but sharing is caring, so that's great as well. Give everybody in the household some, because everybody needs to feel good and feel great. But she gave me a call one day, and she advised me that she initially went to the doctor. They told her that her blood pressure was a bit high, and I want to say her cholesterol was also a bit high. And so she wasn't necessarily drinking the juice for that particular reason. She was just doing her usual pickup of juice and had been juicing. And I believe for 2 weeks she had the Paradise Delight. She had one each week. And she called and told me, she said, I have to let you know that I've been drinking this juice consistently. And the doctor, when she went previously, they told her what she had, what her numbers were, and how she had went back. And she said she hadn't been eating as much as she usually does. And she was saying that the doctor gave her a totally different report, that her blood pressure was not what it was, and her cholesterol had actually come down as well. And so that's just one of the testimonials. I've had people that come to me that deal with even constipation issues, believe it or not. I have a juice that's actually our second top favorite and top seller is Heartbeat. And Heartbeat consists of beets and apples, carrots, and lemon. Now, beets is something that's very good for your blood. And it also helps get rid of the things that you don't need to have inside of your body. Okay. Now we know that apples are also great in fiber. So apples will also help you move whatever is stuck in between in there. Okay. So Heartbeat is a juice that I always recommend to anyone that has high blood pressure, number one, but also any type of gut and constipation issues. Because I keep wanting to say Paradise Delight because that's just everybody's favorite. But Heartbeat will definitely help you move, and it will be a smooth move. And I have a lot of people that have constipation issues that come to me and they get that and they tell me how instantly. I know for even myself, that is something that helps me go anytime. Yeah, I'm very personable, so I am going to be giving you the raw truth of everything, and it may get a little graphic, but that's part of the process. Our bodies really go through a lot of different phases when we're not putting the appropriate things in it, and then it goes through a lot of different phases when we start putting the appropriate things into our bodies. But we have to allow ourselves room to be able to make those changes. So we also have to have that be a mindset shift. There are so many people that are kind of going through the motions. They're seeing all this veganism being commercialized everywhere. And it is just that veganism has become very commercialized. There's so many things in stores that are labeled as vegan and vegetarian, more so vegan. And realistically, it's a lot of lab products. And you have to be mindful and you have to be careful not to get on that train because you're ultimately just putting a different type of junk into your body. And so you have to be mindful of things like that. And this is what juicing can help you do. Reset your body from all the junk that you put into your body. Juicing allows you to reset by cleansing, taking a break from food, from solid foods for a minute, yet still being able to get the nutrients from fresh, earth grown food. Now, we also live in a world where a lot of things are, have been tampered with and they're sprayed and things like that. We go through a very, not a rigorous, but we definitely go through a cleansing process for our produce before any produce is ever juiced. We make sure that we always clean our fruits and our vegetables from any possible pesticides or anything like that, even if it's labeled organic. That's another commercialized thing they got going on. So you have to just be mindful. But more importantly, you have to know that you're worth it. I want to just say that. You have to know that you're worth the time. You're worth the extra few cents that it may cost you, the extra dollar or two that it may cost you in order to be able to properly fuel yourself with living elements because you are a living being. So we need to eat living sources. And fruits and vegetables can definitely get that for you. Now, juicing with fruits, there's a difference with fruits and vegetables. So I do want to also make that clear that fruits replenish and cleanses the body. Okay. Vegetables build muscle. So they do two different things. And so we have a few juices that have both the fruits and the vegetables in them. But then you also have to realize what you consider a fruit and a vegetable. That's also a big misconception out there at times as well, the difference a fruit or a vegetable depending on what something is labeled as. But we want to make sure that we take those times to reset. So I want to answer a few questions that I typically get with juicing. When should you juice? Why should I juice? And what should I juice? How often should I juice? Okay. I always recommend if someone's going to start juicing and they're not used to any type of fasting, any type of elimination of foods, start with just a meal replacement. Now, I sell my juices in 3 different type of sizes. I have 16-ounce jars as well as half gallons. And like I mentioned with the other young lady, I sell them in gallon form as well. So if you're new to juicing, I would just say replace a meal with the juice. 16 ounces is a very decent amount to replace a meal with. You can get full off of that depending on your appetite. So you may need to maybe just drink 1.5. Okay. And you would Possibly do 1 to 2 replacements a day. Some people have to start with just one meal replacement. But if you're a type of person that eats a lot of meals in a day, and I mean full meals, then you're probably going to need 2 meal replacements because the body goes through different phases, and we have been conditioned that we're supposed to eat 3 heavy meals in a day. A lot of people eat 3 meals in a day, but they also eat in between that as well. So if we just cut back on how many full meals that we're eating in a day and split it up, maybe have something light in the morning. I personally start my mornings off, my new days off with some either fruit or water or juice. Why do I do that? Well, we know that the word breakfast is really broken up into a break. How do you break your fast? Because when you're sleeping, your body goes through a regenerating process. Okay. It's breaking down everything that you had to eat. And this is another reason why sleep is so important. If you aren't getting any sleep, you aren't allowing your body to break down all the food that you've eaten the prior day, the day before. When it goes through that reset, you have to consider what are you breaking your fast with? So we'll have to take another day to discuss actual fasting and what that's like for your body, what it does to your mental clarity and everything else. But for breakfast, you always want to start with something light. And depending on what time you wake up, you don't want to necessarily eat any solid, heavy food for at least the first 3 hours that you're awake. So if you're an early person, maybe you have to be to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, you've been up since about 5. You don't really want to eat some actual solid foods until about 8 a.m. However, you can replenish yourself. You can break your fast by eating some fruit, seeded fruit, drinking plenty of water, or drinking plenty of raw juice. Okay. Now, when you're drinking raw juice, it actually hydrates you more than drinking regular water. Well, what do you mean by that? We know that water is consistent of the compound elements of H2O. Well, when you're drinking raw juice, especially if it's things with high water content, watermelon, any type of melons, cucumbers, things like that, they have H3O in it. Okay, so it's 3 hydrogens in it instead of 2 hydrogens like water does. So you're getting more water content from a raw juice with your fruits than you would from regular water. So I always prefer to start with raw juice in the morning rather than just starting with water. I have a bottle of water here right now that if it's a bottle of water sitting on the dresser, I may take a swig, but I'm actually going to preserve myself with some raw juice. I'm going to drink a whole glass of raw juice first thing in the morning. A couple other things you can do first thing in the morning. I've also seen people, and it helps you go to the bathroom as well, is room temperature water with lemon in it as well. That would definitely help cleanse your gut. It'll be great to start your day with, even after your body has done a whole reset. So just take the time to study the different things that you can do first thing in the morning. Okay. So first thing in the morning, I like raw juice in the morning or some type of fruit. I'm either going to eat it, and I prefer watermelon, something with a lot of water content, because I get my hydration in, but I also get my fruit in at the same time. So I'm getting a little sweetness from there. We'll have to talk about the natural sugars versus processed sugars on another day, but we will discuss that and the difference in that. And then what I typically like to do is have something light for lunch. I'm either going to have a salad. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go get a burger. It's usually like some type of black bean burger, some type of vegan burger, or I may have a veggie wrap or something like that. I'm not vegan, so I'm put that disclaimer out there. I am not vegan in any way, form, or fashion. However, I am a very conscious eater. The more that I study, the more knowledge that I obtain, the more I try to apply those things. I try to use wisdom and apply those things. It's not easy. It's a work in progress. It's a day-to-day journey, and that's just what it is. Don't let people bombard you with thinking and saying things that apply to them. This is your journey, but you have to make the effort. Again, it's a mindset change. Mindset is going to be what helps you to persevere through the process and the journey on the days that it gets difficult, because sometimes you're going to have those days. All right. So how often should you juice? Again, I'll go to this one. How long should you juice? That is completely up to the person and what they're doing. I've had people that have done 3-day cleanses. where they have done a minimum of 4 juices a day. We do offer bundle juices for clients that do cleanses. We have them. We have some clients that come periodically when they'd like to do their cleanses. Why do you want to do a cleanse? Because again, if you're, especially if you're a meat eater, okay, if you're a meat eater, red meat eater, you definitely want pork. You definitely want to allow your body some time to reset, cleanse yourself out, allowing your body to be able to get rid of the toxins that are building up in your body and your bloodstream. Juicing can do that. Of course, I recommend seeded fruits because that's the most natural form that you can get. But I understand in most states where we all live, it is not always available to us. But if you have, try your local farmers market. There you can usually find some type of good quality seeded fruit. And if not, get what you can, spray over that thing, and do what you got to do. All right. So juicing can really go from a weekly thing to an everyday thing to a couple of days with only juice. So you have meal replacements, you have juice cleanses where you do nothing but juice and juice only. And again, periodic time frame is really based upon your needs and what it's for. I do have people that come to me specifically with ailments that want a juice specifically for that. There are plenty of different fruits and vegetables that do amazing things for the body. Grapes actually being one of them. Okay, grapes is actually, we'll talk about that in a later episode, but grapes, seeded grapes, can actually help reverse and cure diseases. Now, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, so I'm not here to technically give you any type of medical advice. You would want to seek that medical advice from your doctor or a medical practitioner. However, I'm here to just give you some information that can possibly help you as an alternative if you choose to do so. All right. So I'm going to end there on that note as far as how often you should juice. I'm going to actually add this in. A lot of people want to know, well, how long does the juice last? Because it's raw juice, I don't put anything in it. You shouldn't be putting anything in it. There's no extra water added. There's no sweetener added. There's no preservative added. There's no food dye added, no coloring, none of that. It's strictly whatever goes into the juicer that's a fruit or a vegetable. So with that being said, I want you to think of an apple. When you cut an apple, when you bite an apple, the first thing it's going to do after sitting too long is turn brown. Why is that? Because it's oxidation. So once the air starts to come into the apple, it's going to start turning brown. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, but the air has now hit it. So now it's going to oxidize and it's going to go bad faster than it was if you hadn't touched it and it's just sitting on the counter or in the refrigerator. Same thing with raw juices. Once you actually start extracting the fibers from the juice is now having access to the air once it comes out of the juicer into a jar. We do use mason jars with the seal cap lid, and we fill our juices up as close to the top as we can because we don't want air to get inside of the jars, causing the oxidation to expedite. So with that being said, we list our juices to be consumed within 3 glass jars. You can freeze the juices. Well, then your next question may be, what about the half gallon and the gallon? I don't recommend that you freeze them because they are in plastic containers. However, to each their own, whatever you choose to do, you're more than welcome to do that. But our juices can be froze for you to be able to extend the shelf life if you're not able to consume them all at one time. All you have to do is take it out of the freezer the day before you plan to consume, and it'll be good to go the next day. But they are good in slushy form as well, just so that you're aware. All right. So that is the wellness part of WWDJ with Wellness and Wealth and Wellness with Demetrea. All right. So let's switch over to the wealth side. What are we going to discuss today regarding the wealth side of things? I have been in the finance industry for 5 years now. I started off doing credit repair, credit consultations back in 2017. And I enjoyed doing that. I learned a lot doing credit repair. I still do it on the side, not as much, not in the program or partnership that I was in at the time. However, I've learned a few things, so I don't necessarily need the partnership, so I can actually give tips and consultations to people with the information that I do know. And I have really seen the results in my own life I can tell you that everything that I share with people is because I have been blessed enough to be able to experience those hardships in those situations within my own life. So I have watched my credit score plumb down to the dirt and had to learn the tools that it took in order for me to get my credit back in order. And so I enjoy helping people do the same because a lot of people feel so overwhelmed. They feel so overcome by credit. They don't know what to do, how to get it to go up. They don't know why it goes up, why it goes down, if it should be going down or if it should be going up, what to do when something is illegally reported to the credit report or something that's not yours on the credit report. So I have been able to help people overcome and educate people on how to utilize the appropriate tools to better their credit. But credit is not what I'm here to talk to you about. I am actually here to talk to you about how you can utilize the dollars that you have now to have babies. Yes, I'm going to share with you how to make your money have babies. Making your money have babies is how you are able to maintain and be stable in your financial area of your life for yourself and your family. If you are working hard for your money only and not having your money work hard for you, you will always be in the rat race. You will always be trying to make the next dollar. Life is too short for that. And you deserve more than that. Life is worth living. If you're always chasing the dollar, but you never have time to enjoy the dollar, is it really worth it? Is the question. Okay. And that is something that, again, I had to experience in my own life. I have always been a workaholic. I have a hard drive for working within me. I've worked 3 jobs and gone to school just like the next person has because we do what we have to do to make ends meet. Okay. Whatever we have to do, we're going to make it happen. We have those little crowd of people who don't like to do anything and like to sit on the couch. But those of us who do like to work, we put in the work and we make it happen. So, Demetrea is going to share with you how you can actually first, you got to do what? Change your mindset. Because if you stay in the mindset of, I got to make the next dollar, I got to figure out how to make the next dollar, you're going to always have that tug and you're going to always put yourself in position to exchange your time for money. And there is no dollar amount that's really worth the exchange of your time, especially if you have I'm going to say if you have a family, but for those who may not even they don't desire a family, they just want to enjoy life. It's nothing wrong with that either. But I don't want you to have to always exchange your time for the money in order for you to enjoy the life that you want to live. Okay. So I have, like I said, been doing the finances on the credit side for almost 5 years now. But I also use a different tool now that I've been utilizing for a couple of years and showing people that taxes is an area where we lose out on a lot of money. Okay. I look at taxes as the drainage, it's the sewage that takes, it's like the machine that takes all of your money, just sucks it up. Whether you go to Walmart, whether you go to your local grocery store, you know how you have to insert your money and it sucks your money into the machine. It's kind of how taxes does. It just like thumbs your money and takes your money and it just goes away, right? So I utilize a tool that allows you to keep from having to be exposed to access taxation on such a consistent basis. Okay. Now, before I even get into what the tool actually is, again, we have to start here. I have to give you some type of pointers so you can understand what you're probably doing with your money. Okay. If you are someone that is a workaholic like I used to be, I still am a workaholic in a sense. However, I work smarter. And that was something I had to learn how to do. I had to learn how to work a little smarter and not as hard. Basically, I was just working hard at the wrong things. And that's something that a lot of us do. We work hard at the wrong thing. Let's use an example of what that actually looks like. You have someone that's at a tree. They're taking a hammer and they're constantly hitting the root, the bottom of the tree because they want to knock this tree down. You have another person that's next to them and they have a huge axe and they're going at it with this tree. Okay, at the tree with an axe. So you have somebody with a hammer, you have somebody with an axe. Then you have a third tree, and somebody has an actual, what do you call it, a chainsaw, the one that makes a lot of noise. And they're actually getting to this tree, and it's a really big one. So, I mean, they're really going at it. Okay. And then you have someone else who just decided to get a bulldozer. Okay. And they're just going to knock the tree down. So they're all doing the same thing, but somebody's doing something a little more effective. They're working hard, but they're working hard at the right thing. The person with the hammer, they're working hard. They're probably working the hardest, but they're working the hardest at the wrong thing, utilizing the wrong tool to get the same job done. A lot of us do that. We work really, really hard at the wrong thing. Same thing with credit. You can work really hard with trying to fix your credit just to be actually making your credit work worse. So it really just depends on what you know. And there's so much information that has not been exposed that is now being exposed. We are in the age of information, and people are really starting to understand there are tools, there are things out there that we have not been exposed to. And in this lifetime, we are. And I'm just grateful to be here to be able to be a part of this age of information. Okay. So I want to next talk about, we've talked about working harder, not working smarter, not harder, but also not working hard at the wrong thing. Make sure you're putting all of your effort into something that's going to give you the best benefit in the end. And you're not going to be so burnt out that you can't enjoy it. You're worth that. You're worth seeing the reward of your hard work, okay? And your children are worth seeing the reward of your hard work as well, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to get into something that is called opportunity cost. To me, this is one of the biggest opportunities of growth in a mindset for anyone looking to change the trajectory of their financial situation. Opportunity cost, what is it? Opportunity cost, and you can also use the term wealth transfer. Okay. So the opportunity cost is if you have $5, how many opportunities does that one $5 bill have? Okay. So the opportunities can be endless. Okay. You can go spend that money anywhere. Okay. But that's when then you have to think of the wealth transfer. Okay, so you have the opportunity cost, you have the money that's in front of you, the money that's in your hand, and you have endless opportunities of what you can do with it, the decisions in your hand. Okay, now with the wealth transfer, well, what does that mean? We have to decide where we're going to transfer that $5 to, and whose wealth is it going to go into? Are you going to put it into somebody else's wealth bucket, or are you going to put it into your own wealth bucket? What do I mean by that? Well, if you have $5 and you decide to go buy a Happy Meal, you have just transferred your wealth, because that $5 again has endless opportunities to make you more money, but you're in control of it. Control of it. So you decide to go buy a Happy Meal from McDonald's. You have just put $5 and all the endless opportunities of that $5 into the wealth bucket for McDonald's and whomever the owner of that company is. Okay. Let's say you have $5 and you decide that you're going to go on a vacation. Now, a vacation can be looked at different ways depending on who you're asking. Okay. Granted, you're going to create great memories. Hopefully. Hopefully it's a great trip. Okay. You can create those memories. But you've also just put that $5 and the endless opportunities of what that $5 could do into the resort's wealth bucket, or whomever the owner of that resort is. They now have your $5, and they get to take that $5 and they get to do whatever they want to do with that $5, whether it's going to make them more money or if they're going to go then transfer their wealth. Okay. Are you catching where this is going? If you have $5 and you decide to go invest in that $5, let's just say you do a penny stock, whatever that looks like for you. Okay. I don't think it's much we can get with $5 nowadays anyway. But if you had $5 and you decided to invest that $5, and that ROI, that return on investment of that $5 is $100, you have deposited into your own wealth legacy for your own self and your family. Okay. Now, $5 has turned into $100. Well, what are you going to do with that $100? Keep it in your own wealth bucket. Don't transfer it to someone else. I'm not saying don't go buy anything ever in life. That's just not going to happen. But what I am saying is we have to understand and become more aware of where our money is going, where your hard work is going. Again, that goes back to the first discussion of working hard, working smarter and not harder, and working hard for the right reasons, for the things that are going to benefit you more in the end. Okay. Not working hard for you to transfer the wealth of your hard work into someone else's wealth bucket, into someone else's legacy, because that's what you're doing. You're building someone else's legacy, just like you have business owners, just like you have corporate workers. The saying is, when you're working for someone else, you're building someone else's legacy. While there's nothing actually wrong with that, because we are here to serve others, and that's how we get our blessings, by serving other people. There's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. I work a 9 to 5 and have businesses as well. It's totally doable. But what I am saying is you have to be able to, again, have an understanding and be aware of how much wealth you're transferring into everyone else's legacy and not your own. Because again, you deserve it and you're worth it as well. And so is your legacy. Okay. So being able to pay attention to where your money is going. Some people look at this as a budget, but a budget is really just telling you what you're limited to do and what not to do. When you look at it as really understanding the opportunities that you're throwing away with every dollar that you spend, that will really change the mindset and the trajectory of how you look at your income, how you look at your money, because you're thinking about how you're taking the money that you worked so hard for, and you have transferred the wealth. You have transferred all the infinite opportunities that you could have done with the money that you worked hard for into someone else's legacy. You will then be able to pull back and start figuring out, how can I make this $1 work for me? How can I put this money to work while I go to work, while I sleep? How can this money work for me? You have people that do real estate, flipping houses. You have actual stock investors, stockholders. You have investors. You have realtors. You have insurance brokers. You have so many different fields out here. There are plenty of ways to make money. The thing is, you want to be able to allow your money to make money while you're working. Allow your money to make money on its own while you're resting, while you're on vacation. Again, your money should always be working for you, making other babies, money babies, while you're sleeping, while you're working, building another business. You have to have different things in different pockets, doing different things, working for you. The saying is, you have to have multiple streams of income in order to be able to obtain a financial freedom that you may want to have. So that's what I encourage people to do, is to first change your mindset, be able to be aware and cognitive of what's happening with your dollars. Where is it going? Do you know where your money is going? Who's your money going to? Who are you funding? Whose legacy are you funding? That's what you have to ask yourself. And again, there's nothing wrong with funding someone else's legacy, because, when you help others, you get a blessing in return, however that may look in its form. It may not always be monetary. But what I don't believe in is funding someone else's legacy and not funding your own, because what good is that to your own legacy? Okay. So that's the intro, I would say, to first change your mindset. Become aware that you just may not know how many other legacies you're funding and not funding your own. You're not putting your money to work, but you're just doing all the work. And you're going to try to retire at a certain age when we don't know what's going to happen. Retirement funds are not even being set up correctly through companies. People are losing their retirement funds. People have there's a trucking company that literally just closed down its business. It was in business for years. So everyone that worked for 30 plus years, that had a 401k, that had a pension, they're losing it. Not they're losing it, they lost it. How unfair is that? Again, I'm not anti 9 to 5, I'm not anti corporate, because you can make something happen for your family while you're working that 9 to 5, while you're working in corporate. But again, while you're there, you also need to have your fund somewhere working its 9 to 5 while you're working your 9 to 5. Okay. So we want to always make sure that we're paying attention, that we're sitting down, that we're paying attention to where our funds are going. And I want you to start thinking about two things. If you can do this for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Two things until we meet again next week, next Thursday. I would like for you to think of two things. One, I would say I want you to think about what your rich life looks like to you. Your rich life doesn't have to necessarily be money. It doesn't have to be material things. Your rich life could look like not having to go to work, spending time with your family, being able to buy the amount of groceries that you want for your household without having to take from it because you have to decide if you're going to buy groceries or pay a bill. Being able to buy the herbs that you want to buy to be able to take care of your community. As they say, not having to rob Peter to pay Paul is how the saying goes. Consider what your rich life looks like and start at the very bottom. That could be not having to check your account every time a bill is paid to make sure that it's money in the account. That can be your rich life. Your rich life can look like being able to take your kids out on a vacation anytime you get ready to. Your rich life may be able to look like you being able to call off work whenever you need to because you are wanting to take a day to have a self-care day because you're feeling overwhelmed by anything in life. And you don't have to worry about that one day of missed pay on that check. Your rich life can look like anything you need it to look like. Okay. So that's the first thing that I want you to consider and I want you to think about. And the second thing I want you to be able to think about is, where do I want my money to go? So then you're going to have to do some research. Take the time to think about where you would like to see your money work for you. And on top of that, it's a kind of a 2-in-1 type thing. I want you to write down all the opportunities that you have missed out on, that you have lost by spending money in areas where you had no gain or return on it. How many of the infinite opportunities do you contribute to when you spend your money? Okay. And then again, when you find out those ways, when you're doing your research of where you can put your money to allow the money to work for you, you're now being able to compare how many of the infinite opportunities you contribute to spending your money. And then you also get to compare that to now where you can switch losing the infinite opportunities now to participating in the infinite opportunities of how your money can work for you. These are things that we have to consider when we're talking about wealth. And so many people just don't understand because they don't know. A lot of people are truly just ignorant to the idea of what money can do. What is the purpose of money? Money is supposed to be able to make more money. That's what the government do. They just make more money. Okay. Now, money isn't everything. To some people, it is. To me, it's not everything. But what is everything is me building something for my family. Because my generations that come, the generations that come after me, they're going to be looking at me for what I was able to set up for them. I don't want them to have to struggle. I didn't struggle, but I worked hard and I lacked a lot of information. So I plan to pass down information, not just to my generation, but to my community. And that's why I'm here. So that is the bit of introduction to where we're going to go over the next couple of weeks. We're going